Add that to the fucking marker right off the bat. Fucking welcome back to another great episode of Security Hall with your hosts, Danny, Greg, and Paul. We're just gonna restart that one again.
Freaking poster.
All hail the Empire. We're a bunch of racists.
Dude, and it's funny because there's some kids out there that really did, they had the cosplaying and they played the role of the Empire. And I'm like, dude, I'm pretty sure the Empire would have been racist as fuck.
Dude, all the legacy stuff says it were. I think Disney's trying to write that out. But the whole, the Chewbacca origin would be cool because it's slavery. It's like Trandoshan skinning Wookiees. I mean, it's pretty brutal. But we just kind of even Fett, right? Like, he's got Wookiee pelts on him. I mean,
yeah.
Just getting some fucking Wookiees.
It's a little weird, though, because it's just like a little braid. I don't know where the hair is that long on a Wookiee. Like,
well, I do. It ain't.
He's
no good to me, Dad.
You don't cut it off. You just grab it and yank it. That's what a real hunter does. That's how you initiate contact. You put him down. He's mad now.
Bob Iger, look, we can do your job.
Yeah.
Just get rid of Kathleen Kennedy, throw us in there. We'll bring you so much money.
Well, anybody can do a better job than Kathleen Kennedy.
Star Wars OnlyFans.
Adult Swim.
Oh, dude.
We're open.
Speaking of Adult Swim.
No.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, we gotta talk about it.
We have to talk about it. There's... Look.
Oh, man.
You know what you don't do? Yep. You cross the line. It's all fun and games till you do that one thing.
You don't imprison your girlfriend.
Whoa, that's what he did?
I'll say it gets...
one of the charges was like felony imprisonment.
Holy shit.
Something
There's
like that.
some weird grooming stuff online, too. I'll tell you, let's all be naive and go, man, I never saw that coming from Rick and Morty. But now that we know this, let's slowly watch Rick and Morty and look at all the grooming, and you're kind of like, this didn't age well.
It's funny how people get so shocked when they see the material, and it's funny, but to create and say some of the things, and dude, the space incest baby. Come on, dude.
What about King Jellybean?
Dude, yes, dude. Yes.
Yeah.
All those things are swimming in the mind of somebody that's probably not all there.
And they're icky.
Which is why people like us.
Yeah. They're icky. They make you feel uncomfortable. It bumps into things that are uncomfortable, so it makes us laugh because that's how we deal with it. And then you're
because we've used dark humor to cope for so long. That's why it's such a thing that we're so like, man. But I tell you what, now that I'm in a whole different place, when I play, because I got High on Life, Justin Roiland and his game studio, Squanch Games, they put it together. It's different. After you've understanding healthy ways of coping and understand like certain humor is not like, we all do it. It's a coping thing that we have as brothers, and to a degree we're able to overcome it, and we don't go through some of the craziest stuff. Sometimes we do. It's part of the things
sometimes we commit to tattooing fucking semen demon on our
But you agreed really quickly about that. It was weird. It was awkward. I mean, I feel like you kind of used this ventriloquist say it yourself thing and then acted like it was our idea. It was
who's your semen demon? That's a horrible idea.
I'm waiting for you to take off your shirt and just see like the giant intricate penises tattooed on my
That's
so smiley.
Wait, so you were fucking saying that being serious, not knowing that I actually had smiley faces on my nipples?
No.
Yeah, bro, I got a sad
what's
face
crazy is this is not the first time I've seen those.
Nah, not the last either.
Going back, so that game looks fun. I haven't been able to play it. And in all reality, and I'm kind of a chump for saying this, but I haven't even watched Rick and Morty for the last 2 seasons. I haven't seen any of it. Like, and what I liked is the nihilism. I liked the loneliness. I liked the what was his love interest in the first season, and he does the suicide attempt.
the planet.
Dude, that whole scene was like my favorite part. That was like, this is awesome.
Yep. It's a deep on so many levels, and we understand it because we're
damaged.
We're recovering. We're going through a lot. But when you've come through a point in your journey and your recovery, and you understand you don't have to engage in that behavior. Like when I booted up the video game, I'm like, nah, like I'm better than this. It's not hitting the same dopamine button because I know like this isn't the things that it's saying, the things that the random characters are generating. I'm like, man, like, nah, bro.
Yeah.
Nah, not feeling it.
I didn't finish it either. I got barely into it and I was just like, I don't know. Like it just didn't hit the same.
I haven't even tried it yet.
No. And it's one of those things where when we look back on the way we deal with dark humor, it makes sense. Mm-hmm. And now that I'm older and I'm thinking of this playing out in somebody's, kids are engaging with this type of video game with the things that's being said, that's worse to me than Call of Duty realistic firefights and stuff like that. Because some of the dialogue that they're saying, it's like, dude, it's funny for adults.
Yeah.
It's funny for people that are, that have been through some shit. But I don't want my kids or anybody's kids to really hear what an alien come up to your main character and be like, you want to sell my cum? You want to drink my cum? Huh? Like, yeah, it's weird now the way you put it in the cartoon. When you put it in the cartoon, now it's kind of fucked up. Now I get it.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know, like I that's stuff that I take into consideration with my son.
Yeah.
He loves playing Xbox. And yeah, man, like I'd rather, he plays Chivalry 2 and I dumb down the gore and take out all the blood and, all that crazy shit. Yeah. And it's, it's no different than him watching Marvel movies with people fucking, decimating each other on battlefields.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. It's, I hope he doesn't play that game.
But I think too, like, we used it to cope and to avoid issues.
Yeah.
And then we found commonality. It brought us together kind of through that pain and whatever. And like, I'm one that wants to share that. Like I have tried to share things with my kids and stuff and experiences that probably shouldn't. And then in the end, like kind of getting help and understanding things, you start to realize like, hey, no, I'm actually just passing on issues. I don't need to do this. Yes. And then it changes it all. And I mean, I like the humor, but again, like there's that awkward question of, well, what are you participating in or what are you supporting with your finances or your thoughts? What are you doing? And and not to say that, not to blame anybody, but just to say, hey, you should be aware. I actually stumbled on this really awesome group, YouTube group or something called Before You Consume or something like that.
Oh, nice.
It is. Their YouTube channel is called Fight the New Drug, but they are all about pornography and the sex trafficking and damage and everything that goes into it. And I just kind of
so against it, not for it.
Yeah, absolutely. but more so like
it'd be on a different website.
I mean, but they're like no pulling no punches, sharing a lot of stuff. It is a non-religious group. I mean, you might get some religious feedback, but it's really people just saying, hey, this is psychologically damaging. It's traumatic for both parties, the people consuming, the people creating. And it's just, it's really awkward, difficult, but it's the same conversation because you're kind of like, wow, what am I participating? What's the economy I'm participating in?
And we're seeing a huge explosion in this. It's so marketable and people are flocking to it. Nobody should idolize being a content creator that is just putting forth their body or intimate relationships on full display for anybody to come by and pay for. And it's not that just like, oh, you're shaming sex workers. I'm not. What I'm thinking and what I'm saying is this. You normalize these sexual encounters and engagements, and you're telling yourself that this is what defines you and defines an adult relationship. You go after just the physical connection. And we normalize that and make it so it's like, oh, it's any Friday night. I just go friggin' do whatever I want with anybody that's adult and consenting. But then you remove any sort of connection or you make it so it's no longer a priority to meet people, engage in conversation, learn about each other, actually invest in learning and knowing each other. You're just going for a quick dopamine rush and engage in a physical exercise together,
when it handicaps
and then high five on the next.
It handicaps you, and it's just like any other substance, right? I mean, you're just boosting dopamine. And I personally don't think the bottom falls out. I personally think until you, and I'm again not saying those workers are devalued, but until you teach kids to value something more, I mean, I'd say all three of us stumbled in on that as children, and nobody could really coach us, and it was taboo, right? That's not who that target audience is. I would argue like cigarettes in the 70s and 80s, that is who the target audience is, because once you hook those kids, they grow up with it. One, that's wrong. That's like creating trauma. There's really dark, but also as maybe those adults and those content creators age out of it or realize there's something better, those kids' views are skewed. And they look at that as popular, and they look at that as engaging, and they look at that as what they're supposed to do. And you're turning off a whole side of development. You're turning off personality. You're turning off interaction. You're turning off all these things. They're not going to grow up. They're not going to form. And again, there's a nasty.
It's a new drug that there's no like, and you don't have a dare for OnlyFans.
And the consumables as human beings, right? And maybe there's consenting human beings. That's okay. Maybe some of the human beings are consenting because there's no other opportunity. Maybe some human beings it's pleasurable for them, so that's what they do. But the reality is it creates a market for humans, which is create a market for underage humans, whether it's in this country or other countries. And like, there's a huge history of it to just kind of gloss over and go, well, they're not the same. I mean, they are. It's collateral damage. You can't have the one economy without the other, regardless of how well you try and control it. You create a demand. I think pedophilia is like huge right now.
It is
so much stuff out of control,
and there's a lot of evidence that it's all connected. There's a lot of evidence for that states that we're seeing a rise in that, because it's porn is the new drug. It truly is. And the more skewed, the more weird stuff you engage, you're further going down that rabbit hole, trying to find something that hits that dopamine rush, just like, the normal stuff doesn't do it anymore. Going to keep going down that rabbit hole.
It's a law of diminishing returns. It'll never be the same. You'll always chase the same high. You'll never get it. And then you go farther and farther and darker and more violent. And then you have people like you have, not defending anybody, but you have people acting off impulse. I want this. Why can't I take this? I see this acted out. This person must want this. And it just skews it. Dude, I mean, like, it's caused tons of holes in my marriage, man. It causes a lot of self-doubt. It causes a lot of rift between my wife and I, a lot of inadequacy issues on her end where she feels limited. And it's like, it sucks to, we're hitting 20 years of marriage here in a couple of weeks. And it sucks to look back and be like, I planted all those seeds, man. I'm harvesting the crop I made. Like, that's what that is.
Yeah. It's another weird thing that was always a cultural norm in the military. Mm-hmm. Like the deployment hard drive, the normalization of porn, and how it was just openly like it would be completely way out of line if you and your coworkers in the civilian world were like, hey Jim, you check out Backdoor Sluts 9. Oh man, great film. You go to the infantry barracks and it's like, dude, check out this.
Watch parties, guys passing it around, sharing devices. Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, there's a culture too where people went the same way, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. But it's funny how now more than ever, it's not only in your face, but it's free. Yeah. It's free. And you don't have to go far from it. Like it's literally like at your fingertips 24/7. It's right there. And we have yet to look at it or address it as something that needs to be talked about, that needs to be understood as to like, hey, everybody has desires. Everybody has that physical drive, but are we supposed to be controlled by our animalistic urges 24/7? Just let it drive you on a whim? Like, dude, think about that. If you're immediately driven to do an act consistently just because it's like, I need that rush. No, dude, practice and restrain yourself from being constantly on that verge of like having to be controlled by an urge. Dude, that's sort of like an addiction.
Yeah. And then the mindfulness side is what are you really, this is just the symptom. So what's the underlying issue? And I think that'll be a cool conversation to have as a podcast someday. That'll be a cool conversation to have as, you know, vets growing up, because unfortunately, I think that just passes on to other generations, right? Those doors are open. Yep. We don't know how to deal with it. So there's like shame and guilt associated. So that gets passed on. So you don't talk about it. You don't warn, you don't protect against it. But in the end, it's like you're acting out. There's a reason you're acting out. What is it? Yeah. You can attack the thing. You can get blockers. You can do whatever. But in the end, that's not the issue, right? I'm not saying that's not problematic. I'm just saying you're running from an issue. Maybe it's inadequacy. Maybe it's feeling lonely. Maybe it's feeling hurt. Maybe it's not knowing how to deal. But just like alcohol or drugs, that's not helping you do any of those things. No, it's just dampening it for you.
I'm a firm believer that rushing into a physical relationship with someone takes away the opportunity to really understand who that person is, to understand if you're compatible. And a lot of people find themselves in that age-old conundrum of, fuck, now we're pregnant. Mm-hmm. I guess we're together now. Or you feel that initial physical attraction, and you're like, yeah, this is perfect. And then after a couple of months, you're like, fuck, we're literally only engaging in a physical exercise. That's the only thing. And it's like that. There's more to a relationship. There's more to a marriage. There's more to a relationship. And people are now more than ever susceptible to falling to the idea that it's only about the physical. Dude, no, there's you have to, and I don't want people to feel like this is not a shameful topic. This is not a thing about like, oh, you're a prude. No, dude, like, dude,
if it makes people feel better, like that whole concept of, oh, she's pregnant, now we have to make this happen.
Yeah.
Hi, you know, that's the situation I found myself in. You know, it wasn't supposed to be anything like that. And yeah, I was young, just fucking looking for that physical fucking, you know.
And I feel like
that kind of rush, and that's what happened. You know, we got pregnant, and then just you go down that fucking route where you're like, well, I got to do the right thing.
Yeah.
You know, and it was not, you know, and it's on both ends, right? Like it was not a good marriage.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the shit you'll find yourself in.
Yeah. And I think the physical attraction's good, right? That's how we're made. We're supposed to be attracted, right? So that's what starts it. Yeah. But I feel like, and I think my wife and I, we dated really young, but we went to a lot of, I mean, it was like the, and I'm not saying we were not celibate till we were married by any means, but that culture was really big then, right?
Yeah.
But the whole idea that I heard that really hit home was, once you introduce the physical aspect, the emotional aspect, the growth of that will either stop or severely dampen, because hormones are hormones, man. Like you've got X amount of time together. You're focusing on one event, and then it's not getting to know each other. It's not connecting emotionally. Yeah. And the suck side of that, right? So again, married for 20 years now, is like a lot of that formative stuff kind of got halted. Then we kind of stunted it. I mean, we spent a year and a half getting to know each other before we dated. And then a lot of that kind of went away once we started. And then it was like, unfortunately, you know, my mind was focused on one primary task generally. Like, hey, where can we go? Like, hey, let's go pull off whatever. And the thing is she's a valuable, amazing person. And I didn't demonstrate that to her. And I'm not saying there wasn't desire on both sides. Like it wasn't that kind of scenario, but it's just how it goes, man. I don't really know. I'm not saying you have to wait for the end, but
no,
it's just how it goes.
The thing that's really like we have to take into consideration is like and I've heard the same adage from a lot of guys. It's just porn, man. It's not, there's no danger in it. I'm like, okay, let's think of it this way. You have this urge, this physical desire, and you're channeling it and you're picturing it and you're developing this connection to an actor, an imaginary situation. And you're focusing all this desire and drive onto something that's not real. It's never going to be real. It's not ever going to happen. And across the hall in another room, there's your partner, the person that you love, the person you're married to. And I get it. Friggin', there's so many different factors, but you can control that one factor. Mm-hmm. Stop being forced or forcing yourself to like live in this constant world of an illusion, of a fucking fairy tale. Put it aside invest in your family, invest in your wife, invest in like sparking that romance, that's the physical world you live in. That's the person that you're with. If you don't have that, if you're single, even better. Pour that time into you. Figure out who you are, what you want to do.
How to be.
And I know, dude, like it's falling victim to a world and a non-existent reality. And it just pulls you in. Like, how much money are we pouring into this industry? And then when you sit down and really think about it, you're never going to meet these people. This woman's never going to be real to you. So why are you investing this time and energy and your focus and drive on this? It's like, dude, think of it this way. You watch Star Wars. You're looking at Princess Leia. You're never going to fucking meet Princess Leia, bro. Like, don't fall in love with something that doesn't exist. Like, never in your life. If you were able to look at anywhere else and you put that much attention and time and effort into anything else that wasn't tangible, people would be like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? You live in a made up world. And you would be like, yeah, you're right, man. Like, what am I doing? Like, bro, take that time, go do something else, go work out, go read.
And
friggin'
my experience is when you chase that, right? So whatever your design is, you're meeting a need, you're filling an urge, but really you're just gratifying self. So what I am teaching myself and wiring myself to say is my needs come first. It's about what I want. It trains you to be selfish on so many levels. So maybe the kids want to interact with dad. No, it's about my personal gratification. And maybe that runs into video games. Maybe it runs into just books. Maybe I'm going to prioritize gym time over family. But you start like just training yourself to say, no, it's me. It's what I want. It's me. And that goes into so many deeper things. I mean, whether it's like physical intimacy with your spouse or your partner, because you're a better partner if it's not all about you, right? You're a better partner if you're generous and loving and all those things. And you kind of just shoot yourself in the foot. And in the moment, it's what you've trained for, right? We fight how we train. You've trained, it's all about me. It's all about getting to the need I want. It's all about the thing I want. And then you're also training to targets, like Denny's saying, that are not real. They're fantasies. They're not actual things that no one can live up to. And we can't even live up to, right? Like in the end, like I created more insecurity for myself with pornography than anything else, because I'd be like, oh, I know how shallow I am. What if I'm deployed, my wife runs into some guy? Well, I'm not thinking, no, she is loyal to me. She really believes in me. She really is there for me. I'm going, I'm a dick. I'm really shallow. You know, how can I trust her? And that's terrible, man. That steals so much and creates so much distrust. And it's just toxic. And the sad thing is, I don't think there's a freedom to talk about this a lot in culture. And it's almost like the positive runs the other direction. And the reality is, I think you see a lot of people coming out of that industry, or a lot of people coming out of any kind of addiction, any kind of, whether it's video games or pop, who cares? But like all those things, there's not enough people saying, hey, no, it's about self-control. It's not about what you want all the time. It's about disciplining yourself. It's about training yourself. It's about being a better person, not just for me, but for the people around me, whether that's my wife or my girlfriend or my kids, or just the people that care about me, the people in my community that are other vets that need help too. Like, if it's all about you, you're never going to stop and be like, hey, Tim, how can I support you? How can I be there? You're going to be like, it sucks for you, but this shit's mine. Like, I worked hard for my shit. See you later.
Yeah. And it's not, again, if you're listening to this is not being like, we're not shaming you. No one's like, no one's holding themselves higher than you. It's just being aware of the impact it has on your mindset, like the potential harm it can do. Watching some of the stuff that's out there, that is not consensual, real life, like sexual engagement between people. Some of the shit that's out there, it's batshit fucking crazy. And you're gonna put yourself in this idea, like, yeah, fuck yeah, like that's normal. People do that. No, dude, nobody has 17 of their friends meet one of their friends over for a fun time sleepover. It's
not in mentally healthy relationships, we'll say. But the other side is like, again, that group, right? Totally recommend them. But the reality of so much of the product out there is related to human suffering and non-consensual activity. Ooh. And there's a lot of lawsuits and stuff going on right now about that. And that sucks then to be like, I had this shitty epiphany. I consumed a lot of pornography when we were deployed. I think it was kind of a way of trying.
We all did.
Yeah. But
we all did.
But I had this, I was in my car at lunch and I was like, man, you know, you kind of have this, and it's an idealized image, but you're like deployed. You're a soldier. You're fighting for freedom. You believe in these things. You know, we went because we believe in something. We're idealistic. And to be like, wow, I was consuming humans in the end. I was consuming their suffering. I was consuming their grooming. I was participating. And it was just a weird, like, oh, yeah, I am not, like, it's not a good people thing. It was not a good thing to participate in these things. And that's, again, not, I'm not condemning. I'm just saying that's my process. That's me working through things. It's honestly just like the Rick and Morty, Justin Roiland thing. What are we consuming? Like, what? Yeah. Hey, this is really funny. I mean, it's funny because it's inappropriate. Well, hey, the root of the inappropriateness is this person conducts himself like this outside. And yeah, it's funny when it's on TV because nobody's doing it right. And then you find out they're doing it and you're like, okay, wow, what did I miss? What am I really cheering on? I'm putting money in this person's pocket. They're doing terrible stuff, you know?
Like, you can't sit there and watch this stuff and say to yourself, like, no one's being hurt. No, I mean, it's a victimless crime. It's like, no, like, this will impact you. This will have untold impacts on your life, your mental health, your well-being, your sexual understanding. Like, nobody should be consuming this on a constant basis. Nobody. There's absolutely no benefit to it. If you find yourself being engaged with it every single day, it's worth saying, self, is there something fucking wrong? What is going on? What am I doing? Like, and people don't, because we normalized it. We normalized it just like we've done, like, fucking video games 24 hours a day.
Which is like also unhealthy. You know, how much time is healthy to invest in an activity? And the thing is, if it's detracting from your relationships and your self-care, then that's probably good indicators that it's not a purposeful thing.
Now that we know, and now that you at home know, how do we combat this? What can we do? Because it's like all of us dealing with any mental health issue or anything at all. Once you become aware of it, now it's like, okay, what can I do to make my life better? I'm not going to shame myself. I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh my God, I'm fucking gross. Dude, no, that's not it. It's being aware of the impact and how you're being manipulated by a fucking industry that takes advantage of people. It's a fucking meat grinder, dude. Like, if you look and watch any of the documentaries on that industry and see what happens to not just the women, but the men as well.
Oh yeah, suicide rate's massive, man.
It's not so, and it plays on the idea that you can become rich and famous without putting any real effort and just, hey man, it's just your body, whatever. No, dude, there's a lot that goes on to that. So now that you're aware of this whole fucking gross machine that runs off people, what do? Well, it's super simple. Let's look at your app usage. Let's look at what you're doing when you go to the bathroom. Like, leave your phone out or turn it off. Don't give yourself, it's like any other habit. If your habit for a happy, good time, stress removal is to go to the bathroom with your cell phone, hey, leave it outside the bathroom. When you're done, go back, grab your cell phone and be on your way. If you have built in these habits of doing certain things at certain times, well, now you have the understanding of where you're connecting those dots. So just minimize that drive by removing that apparatus from that area. Don't go to bed holding on to your cell phone, watching stuff. There's a lot of books and a lot of different resources out there right now to help you combat this urge and combat this idea that you have to be a consumer of this stuff.
There's so many healthy habits you've helped me with, Cab. It's like, hey, not taking a phone to bed, not have electronics in bed. And not necessarily because of the consumption of that, but the thing is like, that's my process, right? That's kind of the process I go. Yep. But you know what? If I go, I want to sleep, this is stealing from my rest because I might be up till 3 a.m. and have to get up by 4 to go to work. So, wow, that's terrible. You're putting your life at risk, your family. There's a lot of things that you don't see that are collateral. But then when you go, man, this is stealing my rest. This is stealing my energy. This is stealing my money. But then going, I'm going to limit these things. I'm going to put safeguards in place because in the end, you're just doing healthy behaviors. You're going, hey, I need to sleep more. I need to rest. Yep. I need to be a more pleasant person. I need to be engaged with my family instead of coming home from work and taking off by myself to do this. It's like, no, get to know the kids, man, because this is their formative years, man. Love on your spouse, love on your partner, because that person's the one you selected. That's who you want to grow and bond with over time. So why would you cut them out of your life and create this little secret pocket
fake world?
Yeah, and it's not helping. Again, it's all fantasy. It's all driven. It's just, to me, my argument is it just goes to destruction in the end, right? Because you don't have anything. You have a lot of pain. You have a lot of betrayal. You have a lot of lies. You have a lot of loss. And in the end, it's just you, man. It's none of those things were real. And then who did it? I did it. I did it to myself. That's where it goes, man.
I don't know what you're thinking out there. Well, Denny, I like sex and I like being a man that goes out there and fucking spreads my seed. Well, sure, dude. Like, all I'm saying is stop living in the fantasy world.
Yeah.
Maybe get out there and live your life and understand that, like, hey, maybe I can just exercise, go outside, be involved with friends, and oh, wow, get around other human beings. Maybe you meet somebody. Maybe you meet another human being that has an attraction for you. And who knows? Maybe you meet your spouse. Maybe you meet the one. Or maybe you don't, but at least you're actually having a human fucking interaction, my man.
Yeah.
Like, for God's sakes, like, it's not healthy to put that much time and focus on a made up scenario and then remove yourself from your family, your spouse. Because think of it this way. What if your spouse, if it was your wife that was stealing moments to find time alone to engage in a fantasy world with another person or being? You would have you'd feel some type of way about it. But we don't stop and think like that. We don't stop to think that maybe it's like, oh shit, what if it was my wife that had this issue? What if it was my wife that spent all her, like, would squirrel away some free time just to, like, live in this fantasy world and consume this this form of entertainment that's really toxic? Like,
and just like, no, you have that want and that need, that partner has a want and need too. And you're specifically choosing to ignore that. And even if you're not choosing to ignore it, but you want to satisfy yours, life isn't fair because there's not enough hours to do everything you want. So it's just going to work out that, again, it's diminishing returns. So you're never going to have enough me time for this focus and enough time for the people you love. So you got to make a choice. And the other conversation is, and it's a bigger conversation, but is it ever okay to participate in a if you're taking from people, right? If people are being stolen from, if people are being used against their will, and you don't know what that is, or you don't know what format, it's just a rough question to say, hey, do I want to participate in this? Do I want to support this? And, not every case is like that, right? There's people out there that have full control of themselves, full autonomy. They enjoy what they're doing, sure. But every usage creates a demand, and there's people that are being exploited. And in the end, is it worth that? Is it worth the loss of innocence? I mean, I don't know.
It's not worth it. I think we can do better. There's a lot of arguments and a lot of benefits to not living in that made up world. There's add up every one of those little moments, every one of those fucking 15, 20-minute breaks. You're sneaking away to live in this made up world, and add all that time up. Now look at everything that you want to do in life. You want to write that book. You want to earn that degree. You want to build a stronger family. You want to be able to spend more time with your kids, be able to spend more time with your wife. That fucking time adds up. Like, and I understand the urge to participate in that animalistic desire. You can overcome that.
Yeah.
Like, you're not the only human being that has been able to combat that. There's millions of us that are able to combat that and go over that, because when you add up all that, what's the most precious fucking resource? And we say it every single time. Time. That's your most precious fucking resource. And if you're addicted to this behavior, you're going to look back on your life and say, holy shit, dude. Like, I see it. You see the people that go to the conventions, the people that go to the OnlyFans account and sign up for monthly friggin' access to other people's friggin' videos, pictures. Like, what are you doing with your life? What are you doing? You can't continue it. You can't. There's a better way to live. There's just a better option. You can take all that money and put it into a hobby. Take that money, donate it. But stop feeding that desire, that urge to just be into that life. There's more. There's so fucking more out there.
And don't be a slave to anything. If you're like, hey, I can do this, I have total control, I feel good about where my contents come from, whatever, I'm not going to line for line. But in the end,
I'm fresh.
Yeah, but it's
cruelty free.
But in the end, the question is, who controls who? And if it's stealing all your time and money, then you're still a slave, man. And again, that's so many things. That's video games. That's, electronics, just cell phone time sometimes, right?
Yeah.
That's social media. And just don't be a slave to any of those things. Make you the best you can be. Invest in the relationships. Invest in things that matter. That's a hard thing to understand or try and find sometimes, man. But it's worth it.
And it's worth having that discussion with your wife.
Yeah.
It's worth having that discussion because at the end of the day, you love your wife. You love your spouse. You love that person that's sleeping next to you. So if you find yourself not having your needs met, talk about it. Stop trying to be the person that's like, I'm not going to bring that up. That's just uncomfortable. Dude, it's really weird that you go to fucking subreddits or Tumblr to freaking look for some really strange, weird shit. And that's a reality. Yeah. And we've all been there. Every single man that's out there that's deployed, been in the military, especially if you've been in the fucking infantry, you know about this. And there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with being honest with yourself and saying, you know what?
Yeah.
I don't want to participate in this shit anymore. This shit's fucking weird. You don't know what's going on. That's like there's no way in hell you're going to be able to go to a porn site and be like, yeah, this is pasture-free, cruelty-free porno, man. I tell you what, this is the best stuff. All these people sign consent waivers.
These are free range.
Everyone's tested. Man, these are free-range actors. They love what they're doing, man. Look at them, man. They're just having a good old time. Just fucking out there enjoying their lives. It's not good for you. Anything in excess, anything that you're fucking just crazy about, and you're just like, fuck yeah, dude, I can't wait to get home. It's like, oh, stop.
Yeah.
Stop and realize that there's something wrong, and it's okay. Don't shame yourself. We're not here to shame you. We're not here to say you're a bad person. We're just saying that you're not alone, and it's okay to say, hey, I need to think about this. Maybe this has happened too much. Maybe I need to consume something else. Because fuck, dude, like there's whatever gets promoted in the mainstream, and that's the thing you got to pay attention to. Now all of a sudden, everything is okay. It's okay to have OnlyFans, and it's okay to be a content creator. No, dude, there's something wrong. If the mainstream agenda is saying that, hey, yeah, pornography, all extreme sort of weird stuff, that's all fine. Freedom of expression, dude. Pause. Think about it.
They are happy they're happy you're placated and distracted. They want to numb you. We want to keep dispensaries and liquor stores open as long as we can.
Yeah. And it's okay to say, no, man, fuck that. I got a life to live.
The other piece of that too is if you're having issues with that, I mean, counseling's a great option too. Support groups,
absolutely,
things like that. Again, I've wasted so much time and so much life and so much money and created so many rifts, so many arguments, so much pain. And then the crap thing is when you see it in your kids, right? And I'll tell you, like, all my kids are underage. And so when you have to sit down and say, hey, I don't want you consuming this. But the reality is, man, a travesty's just happened because now they've been traumatically exposed to something they should have never seen. And maybe it's because I didn't clear something out, or maybe it's just because they saw something somebody shared. But we got to protect them. And it's really hard to say, hey, don't do this when you're like, yeah, it's good for me. It's fun. Yeah. I'm a consenting adult. It's okay for me. It's like, well, how do you give these guys a exit and help them figure out how to protect themselves?
There's a great movie that I found. I think it came out in 2012. And it's about sex addiction. It's called Thanks for Sharing. It's not something that you should feel bad about trying to learn more about. Like, if you feel like you do have a problem, start with some of the siblings watching that movie. Thanks for Sharing. It has the guy from Mark Ruffalo who played the Hulk, super liberal, but for this movie, he's totally cool. But it's everyday human beings who have an addiction to porn or sex. And it shows the struggle. And the struggle is just like somebody that's addicted to drugs or alcohol. Now, I'm not saying that everybody has an addiction. I'm not saying that you have to contact an addiction center for help. But I'm saying, like, if you are thinking that maybe there's something wrong with your relationship with adult content, it's worth thinking about. It's worth having that discussion and saying, you know what? What if I abstain from this? Can I abstain from this? Can I just not do it? And if the answer is, oh, fuck, maybe it's time to ask for some help. Maybe it's time to think, because it's okay. It's okay. We have to normalize being able to talk about the weird and uncomfortable stuff. Because if we can't even talk about this, then how are we ever going to talk about fucking suicide? And like, hey, look, 22 a day, they're not going to go away with push-up challenges. It's not.
And 22 a day sucks, but I'll also say the porn industry, massive suicide rates. And they don't report that stuff. Like, people don't want to focus on that, because then it really damages that industry. I'll tell you this really got me shook, and this was like a year or two ago. There is there's a dude in town who does hair. He's a young guy. He opened his own barbershop, like 20, like awesome for him, starting a business. He's a Muslim, and it was Ramadan, and he was talking to me, and we're talking about fasting and stuff. And he was just saying, hey, it's not that bad. And he was like you can't have sex when, the sun's up, right? Like, and he's like, unless you're some kind of deviant, like, who can't not focus on sex during the day? And I was like, like, I have a problem. I just got called out while I'm getting my hair cut. But that's kind of a great measure, because it's kind of like, hey, can you go with it? And that's like the big chest beating thing. I'm not addicted. Okay, how long can you go without it? I don't even need to test myself. Go ahead and try. How long can you go? Let's see what happens. And I mean, if you tell somebody not to think about purple rabbits, they're going to think about purple rabbits. So that starts a whole new challenge where you're like, oh man, I don't want to run to this. How do I do this? How do I share this? Who do I go to with this struggle? Who can I open up to? Like, how do I, again, protect myself and my family, man? It turns into something crazy. And again, it's about self-care. It's about knowing who you are. It's about not wasting your precious life minutes on something fleeting that you'll never get back, man.
And the other great thing is, this is not a new age concept. Man has been struggling with the affliction of being a man since we first came into being. If you look at Romans,
what's the oldest profession, gentlemen?
Well, yeah. OnlyFans. We come to find out.
but women too. And I wish we don't really have a representative voice right now on this, but it's such a thing for women too. And that's a huge growing number. And the ugly side of that is we kind of shuttered women, and we're like, hey, this isn't right. Like, you're not a good woman if you have these thoughts. But then when you get in a relationship or get married, we expect you to totally flip. And it's not been a good culture or anything. And it's because nobody's talking, nobody's recognizing realistic urges and saying, hey, what's healthy, what's not healthy. But now women are starting to discover stuff and go, hey, what do I do with this? Hey, and I don't have an answer for that. I can't speak to that side of the house, but I can say, man, there's a lack of conversation, at least that I see.
All I know for a fact is, when you engage in this made up world and these fantasies, and then you're like, well, and you normalize, and you're like, well, this is everything I need. And you push this onto your spouse, and they're like, whoa, dude, like, I'm fucking, like, hold on, time out. Where the fuck does this come from? Like, I'm in a beginner pipeline. This is nothing. This is some advanced shit. Like, how do you think that makes her feel? How do you think that makes your significant other feel when you're like, well, this is what I'm into. Like, I have to have this. This is the only thing that I want. God damn it. If I don't get chicken nuggets, I don't want anything else. Like, dude, it's not fair.
Yeah.
It's not fucking fair.
They're not just an object.
Exactly. Your spouse, your wife, your significant other, they're not a piece of meat. They're a human being. And you owe it to yourself, to both of you, to be on the same page, on the same path together. And if you're consuming something that's way off in the left field, and you find yourself just completely in love with it, stop. Take a step back and realize that there's a human being in that house that loves you, cares about you, and wants to be your world. That's what you need. That's what you want. Go be with that. That's real. That's your fucking forever. Yeah. At least I hope so. I hope that's the case for everybody. But if it's not, it's worth understanding and figuring out your relationship. Figuring out, like, okay, we need to talk. We need to have that discussion. But it should not be a make-believe world. We're not Narnia. If you find yourself escaping every night when you get home, it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
Put yourself back in the real world. And in the real world, it's not like Backdoor Sluts Part 9.
Thank God.
It's very different. There's no midget with a piñata that's going to come out of the cake wearing a sombrero. Covered in lube and little pistols.
And lots of disappointment in that room.
Who's ready for the wiffle ball challenge?
DNA and disappointment.
Oh, man. Yeah. And it's funny how, and we haven't even talked about this, but how our culture, how that deviant, because it does get, it does become a very sick and degenerate thing that develops. And then people outsource that fetish into the rest of the world, or they travel to foreign places to take advantage of the, the most exploitable people in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's an American tourist thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's a real thing. Like, we have a market of sick, twisted, rich American people that travel the world doing horrible shit.
Yep. And exploiting the weakest, the war torn, the most innocent. And that's part of it. That's, I don't know. That's just, but again, like, it starts somewhere. I want to say it was Bundy who basically, they talked to him and they said, hey, what got you here? What brought you to this point? And he's like, pornography, man. It just devalued these people. I didn't. And the thing is like you were saying, go talk to your wife, talk about her, just talk about needs, whatever. Talk to your partner, but don't reduce that person just to ends to a mean. And one, that'll handicap you, because then you can't make relationships. You can't interact with opposite gender, because all you've trained your brain to do is say, hey, this is just an object of release. I don't know anything else to do with it. I don't know how to treat them like a person. I don't know how to be a human with these people. And man, you're going to be in a place in life where you need to, whether it's work, whether it's family. I mean, like, how I don't,
the gross part, Paul, is there is a category for that. There's a category for that. The categories right now, the top trending categories include stuff like that. Wow. That's the most bizarre fucking shit out there. There's it's the parental and family themed genres. Like, it is ridiculous what people are consuming, and it's fucked up. And people are like, that's not gonna mess anything up. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Well, you fill a room with consenting adults that say, we submit to this, we want to participate in this, and we want to consume this content. But then you have a level of undeveloped weirdo kids that are going to stumble on crap, because that's what they do, man. They always find stuff. And they're not going to know how to process that. And some of them are going to go, this is normal. And some are going to go, hey, I don't know how to process this. And there's studies that show you, like, exposing kids to this stuff creates trauma, man, instantly. Instant trauma, forever. Never know how to process anything. They're dealing with stuff they don't understand, they can't conceptualize. And having that dropped on them, and people, it's natural. There was actually a study done, and I can't remember who, it was some deviant psychopaths, but it was basically like, hey, let's let these kids walk around naked, and just whatever they do, any kind of physical anything, that's normal. It's just kids being what they are. And now it's like animals being what they are. It's not kids. And now you're dehumanizing, and now you're screwing them up, because they're going to get down the line, and that's going to be their first go-to memory. That's going to be their first interaction. They're going to be an adult, and they're going to say, hey, this is what enticed me before. Everybody's responsible for their own actions, but you're planting seeds, man, that, like, and most people don't have the ability to get counseling. Most people don't have the ability to find solutions for this stuff. And most people are too shy or ashamed to talk about it. So there's not a real healthy space. And I mean, let's talk at the water cooler. Let's talk at lunch at work. Dude, your coworkers don't know how to process that. Like, you need somebody going, hey, this isn't healthy, in a non-shame based way, going, hey, like,
hey, Jim, question. I found myself in a weird Reddit loop last night. It was fucking grandmas 1 through 5, and then I kind of spiraled out of control and found I had sex with my stepmom's videos 1 through 7. I think I'm in deep, man. They're gonna be like, go to fucking HR. You're fucking fired. But there is a place you can go. You can literally go on BetterHelp, or if you're a veteran, go to Cohen Network and sign up for free virtual access to a therapist, or give an hour. That's providers, mental health providers that donate time to talk to you. and it's perfectly okay. You're not weird. You're not gross. You're not some fucked up individual. It's been normalized. It's been normalized in our military. It's been normalized in our cultures. Man, yeah, fuck yeah, man. Porn's fucking great, dude. No, it's not.
No. And again, it's like, it's everybody showing off their trauma. And again, like, dude, I do it. Like, you're kind of like, look how broken I am. And I don't, it's not healthy, but it's kind of, you're testing the waters. And that's what porn ends up becoming. Like, and it's just not healthy. I will say, like, I've gotten kind of fallen this rabbit hole of just underdeveloped individuals like Chris Chan, all these people that have created YouTube personas that are not 100% functioning. And they get victimized by this kind of stuff that gets sold as reality. They don't understand what they're doing, and they end up doing things that are assaulting or offensive to people in the public venue because they don't understand it's not appropriate. It's what culture has normalized to them, and this is their only source of consumption. My only human interaction is what I pull off of the internet. Well, if that's what you're consuming 90% of your time, you don't have a full deck, man. You're severely stunted, and you are quite plausibly a risk to individuals around you. Because based off what it's weird, man. I mean, again, like there's talks about gun controls. You know, should have guns laying around loaded everywhere where anybody can just pick them. Don't take 20 guns loaded, dump them at a daycare and just hope for the best. In the same sense, like there's a lot of content that's just as dangerous or worse. That will wound and create trauma. And that trauma will feed more trauma and more wounds. And we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to rationalize it. We don't want to talk about the effects. We don't want to shame anybody. So we want to say it's all okay. And yeah, man, it's easy for me to go, hey, well, I'm weird because these things entice me. Like, oh, I like these things. That makes me weird. You know what? You're designed to be attracted to things. That's part of your DNA makeup. Yeah, there's going to be weird things that you got to kind of tame and go, yeah, that's not normal, man. Pull back on that. Like, hey, Nico girls, there's no real calf cat human beings, right? Japan hasn't made it yet. Stop chasing it.
Yeah. and I'll be the first one to admit, like, I had an unhealthy desire for the Starlac pit. Like, it's not real. Like,
it's just that giant orifice. Like, I know the teeth were intimidating, but the tentacles, like, oh. Sometimes I find myself going, on the dryness of Tatooine.
It was the beak that did it.
The dryness of Tatooine, a bantha mouth has to be so moist.
I bet you I could fuck it. Goddamn lucky Boba Fett.
That was the biggest Vor community reach out.
It's like all those Skeletor memes.
That's right, people. The old veil is pulled back. I had an addiction to Star Wars things.
I could tell you things that would not help our conversation. There's no benefit.
Oh. Tony, what's your ultimate fantasy? IG-88, the Starlac pit, and that weird lizard thing that Jabba kept as a pet.
Salacious Crumb.
Salacious Crumb.
Corky and Monkey Lizard. There's going to be a bunch of them in Mando season 3. Maybe skip that.
Shouldn't have told me that. Not to watch it.
Off limits now. Wait, I've been watching show reviews. It's good. Like, I just like the streaming noise, which I need to get better with being quiet and silence. I don't do so well with that. But I was watching a clip that was reviewing the Book of Boba Fett, and they're talking about how awesome it was that they were, what's the word? Objectifying male Twi'leks. Like, there's a scene where the female Twi'lek, and I was like, yeah, look, I'm good. We're more open-minded, and it's like,
yeah.
Do we want to encourage objectifying of anyone?
No.
It's not. I'm not saying I'm not a great person. So I'm saying, hey, like, if you're dangling crack in front of me, I'm like, ooh, crack. It doesn't mean like everybody should have it. I should have it.
Now I have this weird thing running through my head where it's Jabba the Hutt and he's got two Twi'leks. Like,
dude, there's some weird stuff. Like, we're watching Raising Hope. We're watching Boy Meets World with the family. And it's just funny to kind of go, oh, stuff that age one. I was trying to tell the kids, like, man, I loved American Pie as a kid. I love that movie. And looking back, you're like, wow, that's pretty problematic, man. There's a lot of rough stuff. Yeah. But even like Jabba has a bunch of sex slaves. What?
Yeah.
No, they're just girls dressed up in lingerie and dance. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. No, that's what that is.
Yep.
I don't know. That's not.
And Jabba likes them thick.
He likes all shapes and sizes, and he likes to feed them to a ravenous animal on the floor. Like, I feel like the 80s really typecast me. I feel like I'm a product of what I've consumed as a child.
Yeah,
Jessica Rabbit.
There's got to be a category now somewhere. All right, Greg, look it up.
No, a year ago or so, we had Tauntaun pictures pop up that nobody wanted to see.
Yeah, I want to see the Jabba the Hutt Twilight Den of Fury.
The Jabba harem. Let me say this though, like we've tried to retcon some stuff in Star Wars that is weird. So, Jabba has a harem of women.
I hate all of this.
You are not helping the last hours of the conversation. We're here for you, Greg.
Roll that B film, help. Greg.
but so Jabba's on Tatooine. That's where he lives, and he has a bunch of sex slaves. He also has a son.
Oh, that's right.
He's got Rhoda. It's a totally healthy relationship. Like, there's going to be issues in that family, man. Like,
yeah. Let's take a look at some images here, real quick. Oh my God.
It's not good.
Never Google that. Never Google that. Just gonna have to throw away this computer system. Let's
remember delete and record 32 times.
Well, that's it for Security Halt.
Yeah. Everybody, go fund me. Help out Tim. He's a better human being than we are. He does not exploit young Huttese children. Confused Rhodians.
Our great friend Tim Molesky is in need of our help. Tim is recently retired from Marine Corps. He's a Marine Corps Raider. He is an exceptional human being, a phenomenal bladesmith, and he supports his family and different causes by doing just that, forging blades. And he has an amazing line of products. AuroraBorsForge.com is his website. Within 20 minutes of arriving to his final destination, his trailer suffered catastrophic failure. It fell apart, and inside that trailer were all his tools and his giant machine press. These are vital tools for his line of work and for his mental health, because that's one of his many coping skills. He goes out there and works on his blades, and he's able to provide for his family and release stress by going out there and working. And he makes beautiful friggin' art. It's functional artwork. What I'm basically trying to ask you to do is, not basically, what I am telling you to do is, because I'm telling you right now to go to the link on this episode, and go to the GoFundMe that we're starting for him. And I need 200 people to donate $50. If I can get 200 people to donate $50, we can start getting Tim back on the road to producing blades. So 200 of you that are listening, I know we have at least 200 people listening. So please, 200 of you, go to our website, go to our Instagram, go to the podcast description, go to the GoFundMe, and donate $50. The person that donates the most will get to choose what
to objectify
Greg puts on his body. Greg has become a tattoo artist in the past few months.
No,
he has been tattooing himself. You've been tattooing yourself.
Yeah, that doesn't mean I'm a tattoo artist.
You're
I'm an idiot.
You suck one dick, you're a dick sucker. You build one bridge, you're a bridge builder. So you're a tattoo artist. So if you donate the most to this cause, you get to choose what Greg tattoos on his body. Forever. And Greg doesn't have any choice on this. We get to choose where he puts it. Not the face or neck.
No.
But yeah, we will talk him into, okay, well, you get to choose what he tattoos. He'll get to choose where he puts it. But we'll heavily influence the decision. So please, this is a real call to action. 200 people, 28 days, $50 each. Or one of you beautiful people just donate a shitload of money to Tim, and we can help him get his business back up. please go to securityhalt.com for more information. Go to the episode description to see the link to the GoFundMe account, or reach out to us via email, denny.caballero@securityhalt.com or sechaltpodcast@gmail.com to find out how you can help Tim Molesky get his shop back up and running, because Aurora Boris Forge, fuck, I can't say that 5 times fast, is an amazing fucking resource for veterans, because you make amazing blades and we all want to cut things.
It's amazing hardware.
But even better, anytime any of us in this community has ever needed something, Tim's the first one to donate or puts on a raffle for everybody else.
Yeah.
He's the first one supported us on this podcast. When we needed him, he came and did 2 episodes with us. He supported us. He's given so much to us, and it's time that we rally around him and give back. So please help us raise funds for Tim Molesky.